The date was September 3rd, 1260. Under the scorching sun of the Levant, 20,000 Mongol warriors thundered across the dusty plains of Palestine. Their composite bows gleamed in the morning light, and the ground shook beneath their hooves. For 40 years, this sound had signaled the end of civilizations. No army on earth had stopped them. They had crushed the empires of China, obliterated the armies of Persia, and turned the magnificent city of Baghdad into a smoking ruin. Now they rode toward a small spring known as Ain Jalut, the spring of Goliath, confident that Cairo, the last stronghold of Islam, would fall within weeks. But hidden in the rugged hills above the valley, Mamluk commander Baibars watched the approaching horde with cold calculation. He was not afraid. He knew something the Mongols didn't. Today, the world's most feared army was about to walk straight into the most devastating trap in the history of medieval warfare. To understand why Ain Jalut became the graveyard of Mongol invincibility, we must first grasp exactly what made these two military systems so lethal. The Mongol war machine was pure efficiency wrapped in terror. Every warrior was a master of the horse, capable of firing 20 arrows per minute while maintaining formation at a full gallop. Their decimal system organized armies into units of 10, 100, 1,000, and 10,000, allowing for communication so precise that a commander could coordinate maneuvers across miles of battlefield using only flags, horns, and mounted messengers. But their greatest weapon was psychological. When Mongol scouts appeared on the horizon, entire cities would often surrender without a fight. Why? Because the world knew the price of resistance. If you fought the Mongols and lost,
we attack here at dawn, over these hills.
No, my lord. We must secure the river crossing first, here. That is the key.
For the Pachamama! Charge!
To the Tawantinsuyu! Forward!
Dawn broke over the valley of Ain Jalut. Kitbuka's Mongol vanguard crested the hills overlooking the springs, their horses snorting in the cool morning air. Below them, they spotted exactly what they expected, a Mamluk force positioned near the water source. It looked to be about 3,000 cavalry in loose formation. Kitbuka smiled. To him, this looked like a desperate, hastily assembled defense. He believed the battle would be over by midday. The Mongols descended into the valley with their standard battle formation. Heavy cavalry in the center, light archers on the flanks, and reserve units positioned to exploit any breakthrough. It was the same arrangement that had crushed armies from Beijing to Budapest. As the distance closed to bow range, the air filled with the buzzing of arrows. But then, something unexpected happened. The Mamluk commander, Baibars, raised his banner and wheeled his horse around. The entire Mamluk force began pulling back from the springs. It wasn't a rout, it wasn't panic, it was a performance. Baibars had begun the acting role of his life. Here is what made this moment psychologically brilliant. Mongol doctrine was built on the aggressive pursuit of retreating enemies. Every Mongol officer had been trained that a fleeing enemy is a vulnerable enemy. When your opponent runs, you do not hesitate. You chase them down and destroy them piecemeal before they can regroup. Kitbuka had personally witnessed this tactic succeed dozens of times. At the Battle of Mohi, fleeing Hungarian knights were slaughtered by the thousands. At Legnica, Polish cavalry was annihilated while attempting to withdraw. The pattern was always the same: retreat equals defeat. But Baibars understood the Mongol psychology better than they understood themselves. He knew that their confidence in pursuit was their blind spot. He kept his formations intact but loose, creating the perfect illusion of an army trying to maintain discipline while falling back under superior pressure. The chase began. Mongol light cavalry surged forward, their composite bows sending volleys of arrows toward the retreating Mamluks. Some arrows found their mark, and Mamluk warriors tumbled from their saddles. The sight of real enemy casualties confirmed what Kitbuka already believed. This was a real retreat. Mile by mile, the Mongols pushed deeper into the narrowing valley. Their formation began to stretch. Faster units pulled ahead, while slower heavy cavalry fell behind. The tight, disciplined coordination that made Mongol armies so devastating started to loosen as the bloodlust of the pursuit took over. Baibars played his part perfectly. His rearguard fought just hard enough to seem desperate, but just poorly enough to encourage continued pursuit. When Mongol pressure intensified, he ordered small groups to break away, simulating the kind of unit breakdown that precedes total collapse. 3 miles into the valley, the terrain changed. The valley floor narrowed, flanked by steep hills and rocky outcrops. Kitbuka, seeing what appeared to be a disintegrating enemy force just out of reach, made the fatal decision. He committed his reserves to the pursuit. The entire Mongol army was now strung out across the valley floor, their attention focused entirely on the backs of the retreating Mamluks. They were no longer an organized army, they were a hunting pack, and that is exactly when Baibars triggered the trap. He reached a predetermined point in the valley, stopped his horse, and raised his weapon. The retreat stopped instantly. The Mamluk line turned as one, transforming from prey back into predators. At the same moment, the hills on both sides of the valley erupted.
Attack the disorganized ranks! Allahu Akbar! Charge! Cut them down! Don't let them fire! Islam! Charge! Come and face! True steel! Hold the line! Steady the horses! We cannot retreat! There are too many! Give way! You will fall! Never! Hold fast, brothers! For the Sultan! Get off me! Pull him down! Don't let him escape! He's dead! We are lost! Retreat! Back to the horses!
Hidden in the hills on both sides of the valley, two massive Mamluk formations had been waiting in absolute silence for hours. Sultan Qutuz commanded the eastern force, while Baibar's lieutenant controlled the western group. At the signal, tens of thousands of hooves thundered down the slopes. The psychological impact on the Mongols was devastating. One moment, they were chasing a beaten enemy through an empty valley. The next, they found themselves surrounded by fresh, heavy cavalry charging from 3 directions at once. The Mongol battlefield communications, so effective in open terrain, collapsed instantly in the chaos. Unit commanders couldn't see their superiors through the rising dust. Horn signals were drowned out by the clash of steel and the screams of men. The decimal system that had coordinated armies across continents became useless in the span of minutes. This was the moment where Mamluk training proved its superiority. While Mongol warriors excelled at mobile archery, the Mamluks had spent their entire lives preparing for exactly this scenario: close quarters, mounted combat. In the brutal melee that followed, the Mamluk warriors systematically dismantled their opponents. Their heavier chainmail armor absorbed Mongol arrows that would have pierced lighter troops. Their superior swordsmanship with the scimitar carved through the disorganized Mongol lines. Most crucially, their Arabian horses were heavier and stronger in the crush than the smaller Mongol ponies. Kitbuka, the veteran commander, realized too late that he had been outmaneuvered. He tried desperately to rally his scattered forces, fighting bravely in the center, but the tactical situation was hopeless. Surrounded, outnumbered in the immediate combat zone, and caught completely off guard, the Mongol army began to disintegrate. When Kitbuka finally fell, some sources say captured and executed, Others say killed in the fighting. The Mongol resistance collapsed entirely. The survivors who escaped that valley carried more than just news of a defeat back to Damascus. They carried the death of an idea, the idea that the Mongols were invincible. For the first time since Genghis Khan united the tribes, a major Mongol army had been completely annihilated in open battle. They weren't defeated by weather or walls or luck. They were outfought. The strategic implications rippled across 3 continents. In Europe, where kings had been trembling in fear of a Mongol invasion, the news sparked celebrations. In the Islamic world, Ain Jalut triggered a renaissance of resistance. Syrian cities that had submitted to Mongol rule expelled their occupiers. Hulagu Khan, receiving word of the disaster in Persia, was furious, but he faced internal problems back home and could not send a massive force to retaliate immediately. The Mongol war machine, which had rolled from the Pacific Ocean to the Mediterranean Sea, ground to a permanent halt at the borders of Egypt. The Battle of Ain Jalut proved that Mongol military dominance wasn't supernatural. It was based on specific tactical advantages, mobility and psychology, that could be countered by the right opponent using the right terrain. Baibars and Kutuz had saved the Islamic world from extinction and preserved the culture that would eventually give rise to the Ottoman Empire. September 3, 1260, marked the day tactical genius triumphed over reputation. The Mamluks had accomplished the impossible, turning the Mongols' greatest strength, their aggression, into their fatal weakness. The age of Mongol expansion was over.
For glory!
Fall back! It's an ambush!
We are victorious! Long live the Sultan! They return victorious! Victory is ours. Cairo is safe. Allahu Akbar! Long live the Sultan!